Okay, so you've read my book, you've bought land. Now we're going to talk about the 5 things you need to think about right away. Let's go. I'm Becky. I used to live in the consumer rat race just like you. But one day I had enough, so I sold it all, moved to the country, and built my own log cabin with my own 2 hands. Now I spend my time discovering new ways to live a simple, healthy lifestyle with more free time and way less stress. Then sharing what I've learned with you. Welcome to Becky's Homestead. If you purchased a piece of land and it's just, I call it virgin land or just naked land, it doesn't have any house on it yet, and it hasn't had any house on it yet, the first thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to get some engineer stamped blueprints. So you're going to have to figure out what kind of house you want to live in and build. So put a lot of thought into that and take my advice. Smaller is better. You will be happy with it forever, forever. It's so much more economical and intelligent to build a smaller house and have less stuff than to have this huge monstrosity of a house because you have so much stuff you can't get rid of and you love it and everything else. Trust me when I tell you, if you get rid of that stuff and build a smaller house, your happiness in life is going to like zoom, go way up. You're going to be so thrilled with that decision. Now, I'm a minimalist, and even for me, it was kind of a hard thing to do. I didn't think it would be, but it was hard to scale down. I thought, oh, I'm not attached to any of this stuff. I could just get rid of it. Until the moment came to like sell it all. And then I was just like, oh, I think I'm attached to this stuff more than I thought I was. So I pushed through it though, and oh, I have been happy for years in my tiny little house. Love it. The second thing you have to think about and put a lot of consideration into is your well, power, and septic. Now, I just want to bring this to your attention. You can't just stand on your land and just be like, oh, I'm going to put my house here and the septic's going to go right there. Because it might not. When the well, power, and septic guy comes out, he has to do some soil testing to see if the ground can take the septic. It has to be certain soil, which I don't know all about that, but it can't be clay, I'm sure of it. You know, obviously the sandier the better and the least expensive and blah, blah, blah. So, you know, he's going to come out and he's going to do some testing, and we had 2 septics on this property when we bought it, but we didn't want to use either one because they're not in the location we like, how we wanted to lay out our homestead. So here's the man out here with his little tester soil thing. And he's like, we're like, okay, we want to put the house, you know, somewhere around here. And he's testing. Nope, nope, nope. Won't work. And we're just like, oh, how about just a little bit over there? And, you know, finally, the guy hit some golden kind of sand. And we were like, oh, he struck gold because we could put the septic there. So keep that in mind. You know, it isn't like you just come in and just tell them where to do stuff. You know, you want to work with your land. I know some people will just bulldoze through and just do it exactly like they like. We don't do that. We like to work with the land. We love the land. And we like to, you know, just work with the land. We think it just ends up so much better in the end. Okay, so the third thing we're going to talk about is site prep. You have to choose, obviously, where you're going to put your house. That kind of goes along with the well, power, and septic, that whole ordeal. But still, you know, one determines the other, and the other, you know, they affect each other. So those two kind of go together. But your site prep is also, you know, work that's going to have to be done to the land right where you're going to build the house. So some people, you know, if their land's all wood, they like all the trees. And they just kind of want to like get a little driveway through there and just get a little tiny spot in the woods and, you know, build the house there. So even somebody with that style of how they want to live still has to do site prep where the house is going to go. So you have to get that ready. So if that calls for removing a few trees, or maybe some people might have to bring in a little bit of dirt Especially if their house is on a slab. You know, you got to bring in the dirt and level it out and get it all just right. It's easier like my cabin, it's on a stem wall. They can usually just, you know, carve that out anywhere. So it depends what kind of house you want, what kind of foundation you plan on having. The foundation I have over there, which is a stem wall, is like the best in my opinion. It raises your house up a little bit out of the moisture, you know, the ground and all that. And it's easy to install. You know, they can just carve that out anywhere. Now, if you want a slab, that's a bigger ordeal, more prep, you know, getting that all level and perfect and everything. So make sure you put some thought into that before you get going. The fourth thing I'm going to talk about is the driveway. The driveway is super, super important. Here's a question for you. Have you ever gone to a super nice house? Like it's a decent house, it's kind of maybe decent property, but mostly the house. But the driveway getting there is a nightmare. You just like drive and you're just like, oh, this is horrible. It just gets washed out, just the way it lays in the land. It gets washed out. There's just problem, problem, problem. And it's just an absolute horrible driveway. I know people like that. And I always say to myself, a bad driveway is a deal breaker for me. I don't care if it's a castle. If the driveway getting there is this bumpy, washed out, horrible driveway with sharp turns or anything that makes it horrible, I pass on that. I just think that's a deal breaker, only because you're in and out of that driveway for years and years and years to come. And I just don't want a lousy driveway. Going home, I'm going to be like, yeah, I'm driving home. You're tired from shopping or whatever. And then you just want to zip in and run into your beautiful house you love. Not bounce and twist and like go over this horrible driveway. Another thing about a driveway that can be so horrible and a deal breaker to me is where it enters the road. If it's like a steep curve, you know, sharp curve, you can't see good, that's a danger. If it is like a hill that you're kind of coming down onto the road to pull out and it's just horrible, you can't see. Just so many things about a driveway can be a deal breaker. So put a lot of thought into your driveway and a driveway when you're looking at land to purchase. It's just so important. And driveways, you think, I'll just fix it. No problem. You know, I love this land so much and this is the perfect spot for the house and I'll just fix the driveway. Trust me when I tell you, driveways are very expensive to fix. So expensive. So if you're just setting up and you're just starting out, you don't want to pump thousands of dollars to fix a driveway. It's better just to keep looking. Trust me, there's land out there with great, you know, great property driveway will be no problem. Number 5, the fifth thing I'm going to talk about is fencing, because I have a homestead to raise food, and I have animals, so that is the most important thing. It doesn't matter if you grow a garden or what, I swear you need fencing because everything wants in the garden or everything wants to escape, or you'll have neighborhood and wild animals coming into your property. So good fencing is super important. And we've just learned through the years and getting experience is fencing is so important. Fencing is very, very expensive if you call a company and have them do it. I'm gonna do a little segment on fencing just to show you the sturdiest, most economical, fastest way to do fencing. We figured it out. Okay, so look forward to that video on fencing. Okay, so the reason I wanted to explain the fencing, I'm going to give you an example. Like we have this, like this isn't grass. This is like carpet. It's so thick. So we're mowing it, which gets pricey. It's so big. And I'm like, it's free food. I'm like, I got to make better fencing and let the horses out. Let the horses eat it. Like we're crazy not to. So for horses, it's a different kind of fencing. We'll talk about that in the fencing video. What works the best and so easy to install. That's a plus if you want to do it yourself. It has to be easy to install. So through experience, we've figured out a few things over the years that I'll let you know. But one thing I want to talk about that we have figured out we love and we want to get that done first as soon as we can is a perimeter fence. We just like a perimeter fence. We have a bigger piece of property for privacy. We don't want other people's animals wandering into our property because they hear us out here all the time, and it's amazing how the animals are just drawn to hearing my voice and I'm out here. They're just like, oh, what's going on over there? And they get closer and closer, and pretty soon they're right over here, and I'm just like, you don't live here. Go home. I don't want to be mean to them, but then again, when they're here all the time, it does get annoying. So nothing like a good perimeter fence, and get that up as fast as you can. If you want to get my land book, the link is in the description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Happy homesteading. Bye-bye.